Hi, my name is Allison Baker, and the poster I'll be presenting today is titled AAC Access and Use in School by Individuals with Autism. I completed this work as a post-bac student at Ohio State under the mentorship of Dr. Allison Bean Elavati, and we collaborated with two clinicians at Bridgeway Academy in Columbus, Ohio, Lindsay Padden-Miller and Samantha Lyle. Unfortunately, the poster is currently residing in Columbus, Ohio, and I currently reside in Oxford, Ohio, as a student at the University of Miami. So I'm going to be presenting in a bit of an atypical format, but I wanted to have the opportunity to explain the work that we did. So AAC, or Augmentative and Alternative Communication, is used by a wide variety of individuals to supplement or replace spoken language. However, device implementation is not successful in just about 1/3 of individuals who may benefit from AAC. And the research investigating why that is has found a number of reasons, including access to the device, belief in its work, a variety of different causes of this abandonment. However, these studies have also focused on a wide variety of individuals who use AAC, so everything from pediatrics to adults, people with autism, and the differences in these populations may ameliorate or benefit the struggles that people experience in implementing these. So if we consider an individual who uses a wheelchair, their device would be constantly with them, and their implementation issues may relate more to understanding of the device or buy-in. In contrast, when you consider an ambulatory individual who must remember to carry around their devices at all times, this may impact their implementation. And specifically in individuals with autism, the research currently on proximity to device and device use is really very limited. There was one study in an elementary school setting of students who use AAC and their proximity to devices. And as may or may not be shocking, the students were only in proximity to their device about half of the time. When presented with a communication opportunity, and that was just when those students were presented. It didn't examine the whole day and the device's proximity to the child. And so this purpose of this study was to examine the relationship between the time with the device nearby within the school setting and the overall amount of use in an elementary school AAC users with an educational diagnosis of autism. And so we hypothesize that the more frequently that the child is near the device, the more likely they are to use that device to communicate. And so these analyses were completed as a part of a larger study investigating language development in children with autism who use AAC. Participants were recruited through Bridgeway Academy, a nonprofit school and therapy center who focuses a majority of their work on autism and other developmental disabilities. In total, there were 12 participants in the study between the ages of 6 and 12, all of whom had an educational diagnosis of autism, used AAC as their main mode of communication, and specifically used a language acquisition through motor planning or LAMP, Words for Life program. That is because of an capability with some software to extract data. So we had a very specific population in this study. Participants were then videotaped 9 times for approximately 30 minutes during their school day over the course of 18 weeks throughout the summer and into their autumn terms. And then these videos were coded for amount of time the device was within arm's reach. So we considered proximity to device to be within reaching distance of their device. And these were coded by research assistants using the Elon software. And then secondarily, device use was studied using data logging, which was enabled on every child's device. And as you can see on the poster, there's a screenshot of what that data logging looks like. So it codes most frequently used words as well as time of use that allows for analysis using the realized language software. And so the analyses we ran, we coded 2 specific variables, proximity and device use. And like I had mentioned earlier, proximity was just the percentage of time that the device was within arm's reach, and that resulted in an overall minutes of time within reach. And device use was both average days of use and total minutes of device use, and that includes time at school and time at home as well. And so a Spearman correlation was conducted, and we found a strong positive relationship between the amount of time that the device was within arm's reach and the frequency of overall use, significant to the 0.01 value, so highly significant. And when you think about what that correlation means, it shows a strong relationship between the percentage of time that the child's AAC device was within arm's reach and frequency of overall use. And that this would suggest that the child is most going to benefit from having their device near them at all times. And while that might seem somewhat intuitive, unfortunately in practice we find that that's not always happening. When we look at these data of these children, these are children in a school intended explicitly for children with autism and other developmental delays. So their professionals are more trained on what it means to use an AAC device and how to support the use of AAC. And even in these settings, the device was not available all the time to these children. For 1/3 of the participants, their device was within arm's reach less than 65% of the time. So in even what a lot of people would consider the most ideal setting for AAC language access, there was not always 100% of access for these students. So how we hope to use this study going forward is begin to explore really what variables influence device access and how to best support consistent use, whether that's maybe a checklist or some kind of reminder, or how best to get the child in proximity to the device, first relying on the professionals in the student's life, and then eventually creating the child's independence to rely on that device themselves. This data truly supports that clinicians should work with teachers and aides to ensure that the child is near their device at all times, and educate them as to why that would be important, because if you don't have your voice to talk, you can't express your wants and needs and desires, and that is what really is the most important, is giving these students a voice at all times, not just when it's convenient for those around them. So that was the research that we did, and thank you so much for listening.